Beto O'Rourke apparently has a plan when it comes to climate change, and so we're gonna break down some of the details that have been released. We have been saying for a long time, there are a lot of candidates.
No plans.
No plans really, except for generally Elizabeth Warren, and we do try to talk about as many of those as we can. And if these candidates, one of the 50, wants us to talk about them, they have to let us know what they're actually going to do. You can't just say, why don't you talk about X if they've given us no, I'm not gonna cover some speech, that's just not what I'm gonna do. But he has a plan, so let's talk about it. It's to deal with climate change. The plan begins with proposed executive actions, including rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement on day one and moving quickly to raise efficiency standards for buildings, cars, and appliances. Longer term executive actions include setting a net zero emissions carbon budget for federal lands by 2030 and adding more national parks and monuments to protect land and seascapes. My initial impression of those details is, weak sauce, kind of, but there's more. A bill that would mobilize $5 trillion over the next decade to upgrade infrastructure and spur innovation, including more than $1 trillion in tax incentives to reduce emissions and $250 billion dedicated directly to research and development. That again, okay, you're putting money behind it, that's good. All of this feels, at least at this point, other than creating more national monuments, which a lot of big companies in mining and oil development, stuff like that, they don't like. All of this feels like the market will fix it. Like we're gonna give them tax incentives, we're gonna throw money at them, but they'll figure it out. That's what it feels like to me.
It's like
what do you think?
Not detailed enough.
That it's a market-centered approach to dealing with climate change.
Honestly, it's better than nothing. And what we have now are far too many people doing nothing, still saying. So I don't know. I don't hate it.
You don't hate it, but again, we're not just. We can compare it to Trump, sure.
Right.
But we can also compare it to the plans that other Democrats are putting out. So let me give you a little bit more details to be fair. And again, this is not a bill.
Right.
But most of them aren't. That's totally fair. We're not gonna try to be unfair in that way.
It's more Green New Deal-ish than an actual.
Oh, you mean in terms of the details?
Right.
Because in terms of philosophy, I consider it very different than the Green New Deal.
I think because people are confused about what the Green New Deal is. Like they think it's like a specific bill of one thing that's gonna go into law. And it's really like,
it's like a mission statement with supplemental information. So one of the plan's goals is to guarantee that the US becomes a net zero emissions country by 2050. The framework proposes to work with Congress to set a legally enforceable standard in the administration's first 100 days with a goal to be halfway to net zero by 2030. Those are both fine. I mean, I might want to move up that second date a little bit, but at least it does have that as a goal that they say would be legally enforceable. We would need to know in practice what that actually means.
Right.
But this does signal at least some commitment. And finally, the legislation would include a requirement that public companies measure and disclose climate risks as well as greenhouse gas emissions in their operations and supply chains. O'Rourke also said he would halt new fossil fuel leases on federal land. I would want to see that said a few different ways because that implies that existing leases for mining and development and oil and all that and fracking would go on, which is of course not what we want and not what like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. Exactly, it would stop new ones, which is something. So yes, I think all of this is better than what we have right now, sure. But I think in some significant ways it falls short of those who are championing something more like the Green New Deal. This does not tie these policies into other related issues in terms of healthcare access, the economy, jobs, environmental justice, things like that. It does seem very heavily focused on providing incentives for massive corporations to fix the problem for us, which maybe will win over some Republicans, maybe. But I don't know, what I'm looking at, like, he says he supports the Green New Deal, by the way, and then this plan comes out, which seems to fall pretty short of that.
That's my question. So I don't hate this, but if he supports the plan that's already out or the proposal, I don't know why was this necessary. This seems like a waste. If you are gonna come out with a policy, we've got so many options. Like, you know what I mean? Elizabeth Warren was just talking about Black birth mother like fatalities. So I don't know, that he has so many options that he doesn't have to double back on something that's already done that he says he agrees with.
Well, look, I think he can do his version.
Why? But then that's the point.
Well, because first of all, this is literally the first policy that he has put out in a detailed fashion.
Right.
Making it about climate change does at least signal a prioritizing of it, which is good. As a person who thinks it's the most important issue, I like that.
So as we talk this out, this happens often, we start to switch.
Yeah.
But a lot of this is like, essentially can be like boiled down to, we should have a committee study this and figure out exactly how this is gonna happen. This is what we want. We need to have a committee, figure out how to get there. Figure out, and
yeah, a little bit of it is not determined yet.
so we've already got something that's
he does talk about specific sums of money. That's something. Yeah, we are switching because now you're making me sort of defend. Like, I am defending what is in it. I'm not defending it in contrast to Elizabeth Warren's public lands plan, what Bernie Sanders has said on the issue. Obviously, I would prefer if, okay, this is fine. I honestly, I would like to see like Merkley and AOC and others be involved in anyone's plan, but maybe that would happen. We'll see. He would have to work with Congress. So I think that this is better than Trump, better than some of the other Democrats, almost certainly once they do come out with plans. If they do, like I can't say Buttigieg what he wants to do in regard to climate change. But I looking at these details, I don't trust him on this topic the same way that I would like an Elizabeth Warren or an Inslee. Even Tulsi Gabbard's Off Fossil Fuels Act it's more concrete. Certainly, it's an actual bill at least. So yeah,
really,
I will say this: release more plans. That's good. We're not going to love them necessarily, but.
It's been really quiet for Beto, which have you noticed that this was kind of like oh, that's right, he is doing this.
Yeah, Buttigieg threw sand in his face and is drinking his milkshake now.
Right, but because when he was running his Senate race, everyone was talking about it every single day, and it was about Texas.
Well, I think that the issue was
that he's kind of disappeared.
He kept getting positive press when he would climb things. I think he climbed something really high and got stuck up there for a few weeks.
I think people were
he didn't know how to get down.
Putting his feet on the countertop.
I think so.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.